Welcome, everyone. My name is Stephen Shaw, and we're here at the Esperanza podcast. I've got a very special guest with me today. It's James Bevan, and you might see James is blinking. The reason is James actually can't see, and that hasn't always been the case. So before we get into the questions, it might be good just, James, if you could tell us a little bit about your story. And I think that gives a bit more weight because when we get into what you do with your life at the moment, it's pretty remarkable, given the sight impediment as well. So, welcome, James, and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Yeah, that's right. So I didn't always have a problem with my eyesight. It was actually quite a shock. In March 2015, I suddenly woke up one day, and I couldn't recognize people's faces. So my parents took me to Sydney Eye Hospital. I spent about a week there, and then they couldn't work out what was wrong. And every day that I was there, I just kept losing more and more of my eyesight. So, shapes, colors, and then eventually, it was Holy Thursday, actually, that they discharged me. They sent me home. Um, there were a whole lot of specialist appointments, booked in, but they weren't able to diagnose it straight away.
Yep.
And then so they ended up doing various treatments and tests, and they, one of the things that they tested for was a rare disease, but those results took 3 months to come
Yeah,
back because
wow.
it had to go to a special lab in Melbourne. During that 3 month period, from March in 2015, obviously I had to stop working, and which was actually good because I wasn't really enjoying that work. I was working for a law firm back then, and so it was sort of, sometimes it was, what do they call it, like a blessing in disguise? Is that
Yeah,
what they
that's
call it?
that's right. Yeah, yeah.
It's like sometimes you end up getting out of a situation through bad circumstances, but then you realize, hey, that's actually kind of good. Um,
What I always say, if life gives you a lemon, buy a Corona.
yeah, exactly. So it's like, great. I abruptly ended work there, had no idea what the future looked like
Yep.
because I didn't even know what was wrong for the next 3 months. So I was going several times a week for blood plasma pheresis treatment
Yep.
at Royal North Shore Hospital, and that was an attempt to um, resolve the issue because they didn't actually know what it was. So it was, so we'll just sort of, you know, have a go at whatever possible treatments we can think of in the hope that that would, alleviate the issue. Um, anyway, that was unsuccessful. And then one day my mum received a phone call because obviously I couldn't really do anything, operate a phone or whatever because I didn't, I'd lost my eyesight,
Yep.
and and it was from the team at Royal North Shore, and they said, "Oh, look, we've got the results from those tests that we sent off to Melbourne. We can't tell you over the phone." Yes, so the doctors said I needed to go into Royal North Shore in person to get the test results. So my mum took me in one day I recall it was in June of 2015, I think. Um, and The neurogenetics team at Royal North Shore told me, look, we've got the test results. You've been diagnosed with a mitochondrial disease called L.H.O.N, which stands for Leber's hereditary optic neuropathy. Right, so it's a rare disease that destroyed both my optic nerves behind your eyes, because behind your eyes you've got optic nerves,
Yep.
like basically millions of them, millions of microscopic fibers that connect your eye or your retina to the brain, which transmits the light to be processed by the visual part of your brain. And anyway, this disease, it attacks those nerves and destroys them. So they said you're going to be permanently blind, and um, yeah, so um, it was a pretty awful day, but
Yep.
but at least I had some certainty, um, because that was a very long 3 months not knowing, was this permanent? Was it temporary? So on the one hand, knowing that it was permanent was a good thing,
Hmm.
but it was also a bit, confronting.
Yep.
Um,
So,
yeah.
yeah, and look, we'll talk about your career and what you're currently doing in a sec.
Mm.
But just to sort of clarify, so it's 2015. So
March 2015 it was.
yeah,
Uh,
so how old were you when that happened?
23.
23. Okay,
Mm,
so it's it's some people that they are born they can't see,
mm,
whereas
mm,
you've obviously lived 22, 23 years of your life.
mm,
So it might be sort of good just to ask you a few of those sort of questions, a bit about
mm,
sort of that,
mm.
and then we can sort of comment on see it's a difficult sort of situation, but it's I guess you learn a lot about life and what's important
Mm.
going through this. And yeah, I think it's very impressive what you're currently doing and your level of study and business as well. So to start with, what drives you to get out of bed each morning?
Well, I guess related to what we were just talking about is, um, at the time that I suddenly lost my eyesight in 2015, like uh, I was still completing my studies at Macquarie University.
Yep.
So I had this big, massive challenge. Well, many challenges ahead of me. I had to learn how to use a cane to get around with, so I had to get orientation and mobility training from guide dogs, how to use a cane.
Yep.
I had to learn how to use an iPhone, how to use an iPad, my computer, basically how to do everything without my eyesight.
Yep.
Um, and at the same time, I had to complete my university studies. So at the time, I was doing my degree in commercial law and accounting at Macquarie University, and it actually, um, because I was thinking about, gosh, what's the future look like?
Mm.
It, in a strange way, I guess, it sort of was a was a powerful motivation.
Yep.
Within the first year of losing my eyesight, I was one of the subjects I was completing was company law at
Yep.
Macquarie University. Ended up getting a distinction
Right.
because I just thought, bloody hell, I'm going to like prove the world wrong,
Yep.
to act like this is not a problem,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just going to like get stuck into it and just study, work my ass off, and just get excellent grades, because I didn't want it to define me. I
Yep.
didn't I didn't want people to sort of look at me and think you're blind, you're disabled.
Yep.
I wanted to just you know act like, okay, yeah, it's a challenge, but it doesn't define me.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of other people. They might go through something like that and be less motivated. For you, it was motivating and it sounds like it improved your grades. So,
Mm.
but where does that come from? Was that something that you always like as a child as well? Is it something you think from your family? What makes you to be like
Yeah.
that?
Look, probably a bit of, I'd say I'm probably inherited a bit of that, um, I guess that mentality from my family.
Hmm.
I've always been, very driven, um, but um, and I guess um, I suppose there's one quote which I sort of really relate to, um, from Warren Buffett,
Yep.
which is obsession is the best way to achieve perfection.
Yep. Very good. Very powerful. Yeah.
And I guess I've sort of always been a bit like that, um, without even realizing it. I mean, like when I was at high school, um, I mean, one of my passions was, and it still is, foreign languages. I studied French, and I mean, I was very blessed. My parents gave me the opportunity when I was in high school to go on French exchange, which
Yeah.
was an
Wow.
excellent way to, accelerate the learning curve, but also taught me a lot about independence and, growing up, I guess. So, because when you get sent overseas, you know, you can't sort of just go to your parents when there's an issue. You've got to learn how to figure it out yourself. And yeah, so I learned a lot, not just about, the French language and culture, but also just about sort of maturity.
Yep.
And yeah.
So that might answer my next question, which is, if you could travel anywhere in the world, where would it be and why? Um,
Mm. Look, I mean, I've been to France a few times, but not for a long time. I would very much like to return to France and visit areas that I haven't been to, because France is such a such an interesting place. But
yeah.
there's so many different regions, and so there's many regions that I didn't have the chance to discover, and I'd very much like to go to Provence. Very much like to spend more time around Bordeaux,
Yep.
um, and and the Rhone Alps region around Lyon. I think would be interesting, and sort of the area around the French Alps. I didn't go there. This around near Switzerland, um, and you know, Switzerland. I guess is I'd like to check that out as well, because I also speak German in addition to French. So
Yeah. Wow.
so um, and I've already I've travelled to Germany a few times, and I was very lucky that the my second trip to Germany was actually it was for study, because when I was at Macquarie University, um, I when I first started, I was studying foreign languages. This was before I started studying commercial law and accounting, with finance and economic subjects. I was yeah, studying foreign languages, and so I was doing, French, but also German. And anyway, they had a program at Macquarie University where they said if you achieve excellent grades, you have the opportunity to be selected to go and study in Berlin. So I just thought, cool, I'll just work really hard at German. Anyway, I got selected,
Well done. Yeah.
and I got to go study at the Berlin School of Economics and Law. And so that was a great experience, improved my German, but also just, like you're studying in a foreign place and learning about culture. I've always been deeply interested in history. I love reading history. So it was pretty amazing to go and check out all these, you know, historical sites in Europe, and you're just blown away because you're actually standing there and you're thinking about all of the things that occurred. throughout history.
Yeah, I mean, Australia is, I say this all the time, Australia is such a young country. And
Mm,
when you go to some of these Europe countries and, yeah, they've been around for many, many, many
mm,
hundreds of years, and it's amazing the culture.
mm,
Just obviously you finish your degree and in your law degree, but I think it'd be good beyond the languages. You've done a postgraduate degree. My understanding is that was forensic accounting.
mm,
So h- how did how did that go? And also, you're now an accountant by profession. It'd be
mm.
good to just sort of understand a bit about, yeah, how you went through and did those studies, and how you now sort of work as an accountant, and
Mm.
obviously are very proficient. You can travel on a plane and go down to the Athenaeum Club. We're obviously members at the Tattersalls Club, and that's how we met. And we've got
Mm.
a history. We'll talk about Tattersalls Club in a sec, but yeah, love to hear about sort of the rest of your study journey and onto your career as well.
Yeah, so yeah, when I completed my um yeah, my undergraduate degree, I thought um I guess I'd always had this, belief, just sort of, observing other people, you know, older than myself, like people who are successful. And I thought, right, well, successful people tend to specialize. So I thought, well, that's a good thing to do.
Yeah,
So I decided to pursue my postgraduate qualification at Macquarie University. So
yeah,
I embarked on my graduate diploma of forensic accounting, and I mean, it was a challenge.
yeah,
I had a lot my help from my parents to help me get through that, and the help from assistants at the university, and um, but yeah, and forensic accounting, it's something that it had always interested me. Like, I've always been very sort of analytical.
yeah.
One of my favorite TV shows is Air Crash Investigation.
Oh, yeah,
It's just some people might think that's a bit depressing, but like I've always been interested in sort of why things happen and how they happen, and
yeah,
and like sort of answering those questions. And so I guess that sort of detective work, about sort of how and why. Like I've always been interested in sort of, how businesses work, you know, like I guess I sort of learned a lot about business from an early age because both my grandfathers were very successful in business.
yeah.
You know, um, you know, my, I mean, my mum's father was a real entrepreneur. I mean, um, when he came back from World War II, he decided he didn't want to be a bookkeeper anymore at Perpetual Trustees.
Hmm.
So he took his wages that he'd saved up from World War II, and with his brother, they set up a plastics business
Yeah, right.
because at the time, plastics was like cutting edge technology, and so they ended up setting up a very successful business, manufacturing, tail lights for Holden cars, and um, parking blocks for Qantas planes, and
Wow.
um, all sorts of things. So I learned a lot about business from an early age, and so I'd always been interested in that. And then when I had some, experience working for a law firm, I'd had some experience, sort of working on investigating sort of how company monies had been misappropriated, um, so that was a motivation, I guess, a little bit because one particular case I was working on, the analysis that I prepared actually got acknowledged, by a federal court judge, and sort of,
Wow.
said that assisted him making his conclusions and his judgment. So I thought, oh, well, I guess I sort of have a bit of a natural talent for this, if my analysis can help a federal court judge to arrive at his conclusions. And, I want to really specialize in forensic accounting and analyzing financial details and putting puzzles together and working out, if things aren't quite right, why is that the case?
Yep. Yeah.
Mm.
And you've got your own accountancy practice now.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm a sole practitioner, so a consultant. So, I've got, a few people that, I delegate things to help me get stuff done. But
Hmm.
generally, I work with other accountants on projects, mainly, advising businesses. So not so much individuals, but yeah, businesses, um, and and specializing in, advising on, it could be financial strategy or financial reporting. Um, I do a lot of analysis um, because one thing that I really like to help with is helping helping businesses to really understand what's driving their business
Hmm.
or why, a lot of the time, business owners or managers don't really understand that their business is not performing optimally,
Yep.
and they don't understand sort of, or if they do understand that their business is not performing well, why that is and how to
Yep.
improve it, you know. And a lot of the time, people don't understand sort of where to focus their energy and um, how they can actually, you know, um, I guess sort of big part of being an accountant or, advising a business advisor is that you're helping sort of alleviate a lot of psychological pain.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what would be a typical sort of size business that you would deal with?
Oh, look, look, a lot of the businesses that I help might have revenue um, between say 2025 up to say, 50 or 100
Hmm.
million in revenue or turnover.
Yep.
Um, Tend to be private businesses. Um, I also, provide some more specialized advice to larger entities, and that might be around more specialized areas like treasury policy, like risk management, compliance. So, compliance with like Corporations Act or ASIC regulations, understanding, if an entity has, funds that they need to invest, sort of working out what kind of securities they might be able to invest in to comply with, their governance requirements, things like that. So,
Yep.
yeah.
And how would someone contact you if they're sort of in that revenue space and they're looking for an accountant? What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Oh, look, I don't advertise. I mean, I just, I can give you my mobile number, email, if people want to contact me that way, or people can look me up through the Institute of Public Accountants.
Yep. Yeah, and that's where we're actually recording today. But
Mm.
what I'll do, James, is at the end of the podcast, I'll share your details. So
Mm.
if there is anyone that would require your service, they can
Mm.
definitely reach out.
Mm.
Couple sort of fun questions towards the end.
Mm.
What would be an ideal day for yourself? How would you, or weekend, how would you spend it?
Well, weekend for me, or also one of my day that I particularly enjoy is I I participate in a lawn bowls group, which is specifically for people who are vision impaired.
Hmm.
And so that's so I really enjoy my vision impaired lawn bowls group. So we play once a week.
Hmm.
Uh, um, I mean, this year I wasn't I wasn't good enough to make it on the team for national championships, which are happening in Perth actually in April.
Yeah, right.
But hopefully next year I can make it onto the team for the national championships. That'll be good fun. That's a personal goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good thing I like about lawn bowls, you can have a beer at each side and when you switch, and yeah, it's a it's a nice little casual way of doing it. I've done the
Yeah,
barefoot
yeah,
bowls, but it sounds like you're a bit
yeah.
more serious. Maybe the beers are for after the game. So,
Mm, mm.
and if you were to have dinner with three people, dead or alive, who would you like to invite?
Oh, see, that's a tough question, Steve. And I can only pick three. Look, dead or alive, I suppose with that, I suppose I'd want to. I suppose if I can bring both my grandfathers back to life,
Yeah,
uh, and Frank Bevan Pop, he was a member of Tattersalls Club, so we can go to Tattersalls Club.
yeah, good
Uh,
spot.
yeah.
And you've got how many generations have been part of Tattersall stuff here?
Well, I'm a third generation member of Tattersalls Club, so
Yeah,
and I love it. I love going there. I love the gym. I love the social aspect of it. It's a great part of my routine.
yep,
It keeps me sane, doing my workouts, catching up with mates,
yeah.
uh, sauna, pool. Uh, it's uh, it's a great environment.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, that's just opposite Hyde Park on 181 Elizabeth Street. But they have a lot of reciprocal clubs. So they've got the Tattersalls up in Queensland and then Athenaeum Club in Melbourne. And
Yeah,
you seem to utilise them all with your travels there.
that's right. Yeah, yeah, they know me down at the Athenaeum Club.
Yeah,
So it's lovely to have a place where you feel at home in other cities. And well, we're very blessed to have all these reciprocal clubs. I mean, I visited the one in Hawaii in Honolulu. It's fantastic. The
yeah.
Outrigger Club. They've got their own beach.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And I think they've got some in New York
I,
and
I,
London and
I
everything.
remember a few years ago, when was it, 2016? I was there with Dad, and it was on Super Bowl day.
Hmm.
So we were listening to Super Bowl, uh, and then at halftime, we ran down into the water, had a swim. That was what we did halftime Super Bowl.
Yeah. Right.
Uh, good memories.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll leave it there, James. Some very interesting conversation, and thanks for sharing your story. It's obviously one of challenges, but yeah, it's very motivating. That no matter what life throws at you, you can push through and achieve a lot. So yeah, very
That's
well
it.
done.
Thank you, Steve. And look, I'd leave you with this quote, which I find highly inspirational. I can't remember who said it, but I'll tell you what it is. It's happiness is not getting what you want. Happiness is wanting what you have.
Yeah, very, very, very powerful. And there you go for our business owners there that are looking to start a business. Sometimes being grateful for what you have is very important. And yeah, thanks again, James. And everyone have a great week. Cheers.
Thanks, Steve.